For most of your working life, someone would ask what you do, and you'd answer without thinking. Not because the question was simple, because the answer was always right there. In retirement, the question doesn't change, but the answer does. And for a lot of people, that turns out to be more disorienting than they expected.
Someone asked me what I do now. I didn't really have an answer. It caught me off guard.
It's not just an awkward moment at a dinner party, it's a signal. More of your identity was tied to that answer than you realized. Here's what that actually means. For decades, your job title was doing more than you knew. It told people who you were. It gave you a place in every conversation. It answered the most common question anyone asks a person they've met. And it went further than that. It told you who you were. Every morning when you got up. Every time you walked into a room. The title was just there. Part of the background. Something you didn't have to think about. Then you retired. The title disappeared. And some people are surprised by how much they notice its absence. Not the job itself necessarily, the title, the answer, the shorthand that told people who you were. Most people don't realize how much it was actually doing until it's gone. And then the question, who are you now, is suddenly less simple than it used to be. There was a version of you at work that knew what it was doing. Not because you were exceptional, because you'd been in that building, with those people, doing those things long enough to know how to move. You knew the room. In retirement, the rooms change. New people, new situations, no role to walk in with. And some people notice something unexpected. They're not sure how to carry themselves, not the way they used to. At work, you knew how to read any situation because you'd been through a version of it 100 times. You knew your place in the room. You knew what was expected. You knew who you were in relation to everyone else. That's gone now, and you discover that a lot of what felt like confidence was actually familiarity. That's not a small thing to realize. It doesn't mean you're less capable. It means more of your confidence was borrowed from the situation than you knew. If any of this sounds familiar, there's a free 2-minute retirement snapshot below. It's designed to help you understand where you are in the retirement transition right now. You'll find the link below. Here's where the story tends to turn, and it takes time. Real time. Most people spend at least a year not quite knowing who they are outside of work. It doesn't have to go that way, but that's normal, and it's worth saying out loud. But something does start to happen. Slowly, the parts of you the job never used start to show up again. Not new things, old things. Things you set aside because they didn't fit the role, because they weren't useful, because there wasn't time. An interest you'd had before the career took over that never quite fit what you were doing. A way of spending an afternoon that has no productive justification. An opinion you'd been keeping quiet for professional reasons that you actually believe. None of it was lost. It was just waiting. Here's why that version tends to feel more real. At work, you became who the role needed you to be. The job needed specific things from you, and that's what you became. It shaped you, not deliberately, not badly, just by what it required. Over time, you can start to mistake that version for the whole one. When you retire, that requirement goes away, and what's left is more like the real you. Not automatically more comfortable, but more honest. closer to who you actually are. Most people go into retirement thinking they know who they are. They've had the same answer for 30 years. Why would that change? But retirement asks the question differently. Not what do you do? Who are you? And those turn out to be two very different questions. The second one takes longer to answer, but most people find the answer is more honest than the one they'd been giving. That's what retirement is really asking of you. Not how to fill your time, who you are when the time is yours.
Subscribe for more reflections on retirement and what happens after the structure of life changes. Then take the free 2-minute retirement snapshot to better understand where you are in the retirement transition and what comes next. Scan the code or click the link below.